Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Dynasty Underdog. I'm your host, Uriah Dawkins. With me tonight, Billy Beeman. What's up, bud?
Oh man, another great week of football. Unless you're a Patriots fan, they just couldn't help but fumble the bag,
Ah,
pun intended, unfortunately. But capped off with a really good game last night. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about what we got on the sheet today. There's just a lot of activity going on, I feel like, in the dynasty leagues, and so a lot of activity going on in the league too with injuries and everything. So we're gonna lead off with that, but got a lot of good stuff to talk about. So should be a fun show. How you doing though? Everything good?
doing good. And I think, fumbles are mostly fixable and also not super sticky. So,
Unless your name's Ramondre
I know.
Stevenson.
We'll get
Dude,
there, though.
he has like 8 or 9 fumbles over the last 18 games or something. I heard the stat earlier. I'm just like, oh my god, that is horrendous.
Uh, it'll be okay. All right, let's hop with some
I'm
news.
not I'm not sure it will be, but yeah,
Just trying
let's
to
do
make you
it.
feel good.
There's nothing you could do.
I get it. All right, let's hop with some news nonsense. A lot of it's bad news, actually, for the most part. But we'll just go down the list here. James Conner, boom. Ankle injury, IR, or is he out for the year?
I mean, I think both probably. Like he's gonna go on
Yeah.
IR, but yeah, no, I mean they're talking about ankle surgery, so I would
Yeah.
suspect out for the year. I don't really know if there's that much actionable. Like, are you really gonna invest a lot into Trey Benson now? Like that's what you should have done before. And even in short spurts, like he's looked okay for sure, and he's going to get a ton of usage, but the offense hasn't looked great. I don't know. There's probably going to be maybe like a dip at some point, I feel like, with this kind of guy. So I wouldn't be going out and trying to buy him necessarily. James Conner, bro, what do you do with that? Like, if you can sell him for anything at this point,
Anything.
is that what you do? Because like
Yes.
age, injuries, like he's not going to come back super hot. I mean, yeah, like I guess for a contender, maybe you sell a future fourth and get him on your team, stash him on IR, and see if he comes back healthy. But outside of that, if you can get fourth, a couple fourths, third for him or something, yeah, I mean you're doing that. I think that's the only actionable thing here.
Hell of a run. Yeah, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but like I made a trade actually in a league that I think I was in over my skis on as far as like my level of contention. But I did make a trade for James Conner, but I also in that trade made sure I got Trey Benson back as well. So we'll see if it
That's
works
killer.
out. But I think I'm actually going
Yeah.
to be in the seller in that league anyway. But all right, Najee, unfortunate Najee Achilles, the dude who never ever got injured in Pittsburgh playing on grass goes there to San Diego and week 3 pops his Achilles, career's over.
I mean, we said that about J.K. Dobbins, but he had a little bit maybe more athleticism than Najee, so
Oh
it's
yeah,
not impossible these days. But yes, I would suggest that's probably the case. Definitely not going out there and trying to acquire any of Najee. But we're going to talk about again quite a few trades later, and I may have missed the mark on one of them. Speaking to Amari and Hampton, just because his value went up very quickly after Najee went down, and he's still inefficient. This is I do want to mention that. Like if you look at the numbers, other than the receiving numbers, which he's definitely looks good there, and he's going to continue to probably get a good amount of touches there, especially with no Najee. But he wasn't really efficient. Like it was 19 carries for 70-ish yards or something like that, maybe 80. And so he was basically splitting like we thought he was going to with Najee before this. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to bring somebody in at this point to, at least spell him a little bit and offer some help there. I'm just not like he's going to get the usage for sure, and he's going to probably produce a good amount for fantasy, but I just don't want to use this as like, oh, well, he's the guy now, because like he's not showing anything different than what he was showing when Najee was there. You know what I mean? So still seeing some of the issues, but goddamn, yeah, for short term, the usage is going to be crazy.
Shout out to all the Kamani Vidal bag holders still, because hey, Harbaugh said he's next man up. So
okay, let's see. They
I
gotta
almost
bring
dropped him
somebody
like
else in.
half a dozen times this offseason. So
There's no way, dude. That's funny.
Gus
Now, that's a
Edwards.
guy. That's a guy you sell. No, Kamani Vidal is a guy you sell like immediately for anything, for literally a 4th round pick. If that buzzes out there, that's what I would do.
All right. And probably the most horrible news of all, because I'm a Cowboys fan. CeeDee Lamb ankle. Uh, he was doing one of those little playing the running back things where he gets the ball in the backfield. He got kind of,
Mm-hmm.
I'll call it a hip
Yeah,
drop because I'm a hater, but the ankle looked like it should have broke and it didn't. So, but
definitely.
he likely goes on IR, but definitely out for. They call it a high ankle sprain. That's like 4 weeks. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, this is one thing you can do in dynasty leagues with these kind of assets. If you are a rebuilder and you have a couple assets that are more contender type assets but are pretty high value, you can sell those to a contender who just lost CD Lamb and is thinking this Cowboys offense might not turn it around. So something to consider, like he's not going to score points, so he's not going to increase your max points for or whatever if you're trying to tank still. So he's, there's some benefits to trading for a guy like that, and fragile contending teams may want to get in on a trade like that. So just something to think about with CD. Other than that, I don't think there's really much there unless you're really deep leagues into Cavante Turpin or whatever. I mean, they're gonna be a little better than they were before, but not much. You're muted.
Of course, we'll see what Pickens does with the added role, but I don't know. I think he's more of
Yeah.
a really good, wide receiver too. But, Mike Evans, water's wet. He has a hamstring injury. I mean, it's just what it is. It's fine.
Yeah.
Nothing against the guy. It happens to him, and he'll be fine. But it's going to be probably 4 weeks or something like that for him.
Yeah. I mean, as these guys get older, it's Mike Evans. We're going to talk about McLaurin. I mean, you don't think of him as older, but he is almost 30, if not 30 already. So yeah, with these guys like that, they're prone to that. And Mike Evans, we know this is just part of the part of rostering Mike Evans is dealing with a couple weeks out because of a hammy, and it could be 6, it could be 4. Who knows? They're saying this one is not as bad as the previous one, like last year. So maybe it'll be short term, but we should get high volume Emeka Ibuka. So I'm excited to see that. Other than that, maybe we get Godwin more involved than he would have been, when he does come back here.
Yeah.
I think they're talking about bringing him back maybe this week or next week. So yeah, I don't really know, man. Like I wouldn't be buying Evans. This kind of sucks, right? Because like he's a guy who you want to sell as almost any team, and this kind of really kills his value unless he comes back and really performs. So tough asset to roster because he scores points, but nobody wants him.
Yeah, that's true. Terry McLaurin got the contract this year. Been without his quarterback for the last couple of weeks, but yeah, Terry McLaurin with a quad. This is the part that I'm no doctor, but according to the internet, he said he's going to go and get a second opinion on it, which those usually just ends up worse, right? So the team's trying to tell you, hey, maybe you need surgery or something. I'm just guessing here, but surgery. And he's like, no, I don't need that. I'm going to go see somebody else, and we'll see. But it's scary for Scary Terry.
Scary Terry. Yeah, that's not great. I mean, they got the injury to Jaden Daniels with the knee. Like, there's just kind of not a lot here that's exciting. So you're probably just going to have to sit on your shares here. You could probably scrape a Terry share off of your league mates, though. I'm sure some people are getting worried about this. And, like, yeah, for sure, you weren't going to get as much out of him without Jaden, obviously. And now you kind of have some time probably for them to get back kind of on track at the same time, maybe. The point being is like, I think you could probably purchase him without the worry of him. Like this isn't like a long-term thing. I would imagine, you know what I mean? Yeah, you threw surgery out there really to scare everybody, but just really quick. Yeah, go ahead.
I've seen stories. I forget who, but I've seen stories from past NFL players that like when the second opinion thing came up, and it's like, hey, yo, like I was told by my team doctor that I needed to have surgery and I'd be out for the rest of the year. But I did get a second opinion when we did some other stuff, and I was able to get back on the field in like 6 weeks. I forget who it was, but it was like I think it was an O lineman for Green Bay, something like that. But so that's crazy.
A quad injury, getting a second opinion on a quad injury, it does have to be pretty severe. So maybe he will be out for a while, but again, I don't think it's a career thing. So if you can get Terry for a cheaper price, I would not be opposed to that. What would you be like? if you're sorry, just going back to Mike Evans, just thinking like, would you take any second round pick for him if you rostered Mike Evans? Like, is that where his value's at?
Probably.
Okay. All right. I just want to just thinking about it because that's this is going to be a time that people are coming after him. So I just want to think about what kind of our floor price is. And then when he comes back, maybe we can get that. Okay, cool. All right, we can move.
Next one, Trey Tucker, a guy that I don't think anybody really had on the radar really to start the season, but just with the addition of like Jack Betch and other guys, Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, and also this didn't really expect to see a guy like Trey Tucker kind of have in the early season that he's had so far. But yeah, 17 targets the last 2 weeks, 3 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. I seen Trey Tucker get dropped the day before I seen him get dropped in a league on Saturday, and pretty much immediately went and said, "Okay, waiver, bud." And then he had another big game this last Sunday. It's kind of hard. I mean, these things don't happen very often, but I'm kind of starting to believe that this might be more of what is to come for the rest of the season from this guy. What do you think?
Yeah, like it's 2 game samples. I don't want to get over our skis here, but I just felt like it was a disservice if we didn't mention him because I'm sure there's quite a few leagues out there where he is on waivers.
Yeah,
like you said, dropped in, a league on Saturday. I saw him in a league that I have. I think it's like more 20 man instead of 25. So definitely in those leagues, but 25 probably rostered, 30 definitely rostered. But either way, it's just like he had 3 touchdowns this game. He had, I think, 8 targets the week before, 9 targets this week. You're not seeing much from Betch. You're seeing a little bit from Thornton here and there. Jacoby Myers is locked in and Bowers is locked in. But after that, it's like, it seems like Trey Tucker is a reliable target all of a sudden. Yes. And I mean, he's always been a pretty solid deep threat, even before Geno. Like, he was always kind of, a guy who would get a deep touchdown here and there, a couple throughout the year. But yeah, it just looks like, I mean, if he's going to get more consistent targets, he's definitely got quite a bit of upside. You're not going to see 3 touchdowns probably ever again. But if he's getting anywhere between 6 and 10 targets a game, like that's
startable.
It's startable. So like I'm not advising to go. I'm definitely advising to get him off waivers. I'm not advising to go and buy him necessarily unless it's a throw in, on a package that's already kind of set and you're like, oh yeah, let me see if I can get this in here too. That I'm about, but yeah, it's just something we had to mention because that's definitely a signal of some sort. Let's see if it continues for another week or 2. And it doesn't need to be 8 targets, but if there's if he's getting 5 to 7 still, I'm like, all right, that's still pretty consistent for a guy of his role.
Yeah. If one's a 50-yard bomb for a touchdown, like, those are fun.
Yeah, and those are what he does too. That's how he plays. Yeah.
All right. I don't even know why we want to talk about this, but Shane Waldron's wide receiver 1. So going back 3 years ago,
we have to.
I know Shane Waldron had Cooper Kupp and Jackson Smith-Njigba as a rookie. We all know how Jackson Smith-Njigba's season went there. Going back to 2024, he had Roma Duze as a rookie. We all know how Roma Duze's rookie season went, which wasn't spectacular. And then he goes over to Jacksonville, and you don't even mention Travis Hunter here. That's hilarious. But what's to mention? Brian Thomas Jr. is getting,
fair.
To be fair with Brian Thomas Jr., he is getting the looks. He's getting the targets. It's just something's not going there. And my Brian Thomas Jr. shares are sad. Very, very sad. Do I blame Shane Waldron? Yeah, I think I do.
I mean, honestly, there was week 2? I mean, he definitely dropped quite a few targets, and I think that's what everybody's kind of honing in on. But I don't think the usage has been there from week 1 to week 3, really. And to your point, not really for Travis Hunter either. There's been some, some schemed up stuff where they've really tried to get him involved, especially week 1, I think 6 or 7 targets. But after that, nothing looks smooth. The operation doesn't look great. And this is, 3 different stops where at the very least, the wide receiver one or very talented wide receivers are not performing up to their potential. And then after he leaves, we don't know about this one yet, but we already know before this that Brian Thomas was good. So, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think Brian Thomas all of a sudden isn't good. I do have a feeling that, that there's some of this has to do with Shane Waldron. So the point is that I've always talked about this, understanding like who coaches are and what coaches are coordinating the offense, because we deal with offense so much in fantasy, is so important. And obviously, Shane Waldron sticks out like a sore thumb at this point. Arthur Smith sticks out like a sore thumb, but it's like certain guys who you're like, do I just want to not completely avoid, but like avoid at some rate these offenses or like these players, or just understand the cadence of like how this player's career arc may go if this person is their OCA. So like I don't know. It's just another available time to highlight that. You know what I mean?
Shame on me. I didn't even like. Honestly, if you had asked me before the week 1 game started, like who was offensive coordinator for Jacksonville, I wouldn't even come up with Shane Waldron. It didn't even stick with me.
No, we need to have like him flagged on like a map, like they're an offender, like they're an offender, bro. Like where are they currently in the NFL like world?
Like and the pedo maps.
Yes, that's literally what I was referring to. Trying not to say it, but yes, dude. Like you have to have like know where he's going and just like done, dude. And Tony in here knows. He said Waldron's a freaking bum. Absolutely. So anyway, worth noting and keeping an eye on those kind of guys. Like Arthur Smith, I think everybody knew. Like he went over here to Pittsburgh and everybody was like, no upside in that offense. And all the guys you want to get targets are probably not going to get targets. If he doesn't like a guy like Caleb Johnson, he's never going to get any run. Like you just know this about Arthur Smith. So it's like, that impacts their value, at least short term, not long term necessarily, especially if they're like Brian Thomas Jr. But it's like, for a fact, Shane Waldron is not going to be in Jacksonville long term. He doesn't stay anywhere long because of this. You know what I mean? So like, it would be worth, I think, buying these guys. I'm not concerned that Brian Thomas sucks either. So that's worth mentioning here. Or Travis Hunter, really. I think they've both shown, Brian Thomas has shown plenty of flashes, but I think Hunter's shown some flashes too, where I'd be out there buying him if I could buy him for a single first. I think I'd do that for sure. Still, I'm sure somebody's going to get worried about him.
Yeah, seeing those defensive snaps increase so much is a little scary. All right, Jackson Dart. So today we learned Russell Wilson hit the pine. I really thought it'd be another week where he could open up, because I think that the Giants going to play the Saints the following week. And it's like, I think they'd rather have Jackson Dart out there playing against the Saints the following week, except for they get the Chargers this week. But Jackson Dart, welcome to the NFL. It can't get any worse for Malik Neighbors, right? So this has to be wheels up.
I wouldn't say wheels up. Jake is super concerned about about Dart starting because the offensive line, because just I think the whole situation, and he doesn't think that he's ready either, that Dart's ready. He thinks that Dart still needs to develop quite a bit. And so, I'm not sure he's going to be able to handle the speed of the game. We'll see. He obviously showed some flashes in preseason. Maybe he will just come out and kind of shock everybody. But it like you said, it can't really be too much worse, I guess, for Malik Neighbors, unless you look back to week 2. Wilson was slinging the ball. We're 1 week removed from 450. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, like I don't know. I guess what I would say about this whole situation is like, if it doesn't go well, like you will have an opportunity to get in on some Dart. Because like again, some of these guys take time to develop. But I don't know if it ends up being like an Anthony Richardson situation or something like that. You know what I mean? So it can go both ways. But we just have to see how he performs. I just think I personally would have liked to see them stick with Russell Wilson, give him a lot more time to kind of just learn and then play him later in the season. I think that it may have been better for, just his performance in general and his dynasty value, but we'll see what happens here.
Cool. Next one, it's Daniel Jones for real. Maybe. They've had pretty decent offensive line, pretty good skill players. This is kind of an indictment on Anthony Richardson more than anything, and it's just really hard for me to give Daniel Jones a whole lot of credit because he's been so terrible. But I will say, maybe flippantly, but maybe that's not even the right word, but it kind of reminds me the start that the 2024 New Orleans Saints got off to. And if you go back
New
to,
Orleans Saints.
they were scoring like 40 points for the first 4 weeks, and then just because Derek Carr is Derek Carr, and the New Orleans Saints are the New Orleans Saints. So wouldn't surprise me if the Colts end up being like that. But I can't deny that he looks good, and all his metrics, EPA per play, all that stuff, EPA per drop back. Right now, he really is cooking. So I just find it really hard to believe, but he is cooking.
Yeah, I mean, he does look okay. He's not throwing that many touchdowns, but the offense, you got Jonathan Taylor to work with, and so I don't know, like this, it kind of feels like we've seen some of this from Daniel Jones before. He's just not making too many mistakes, and he's not fumbling the ball, which is something he's done a lot of in his career.
Mm-hmm.
I think at like a historically high rate. So he's also with somebody who we thought is kind of like an offensive mastermind of sorts as well. And we thought, like you said, it kind of an indictment on Anthony Richardson as well. Like, we know that there's some work ethic stuff there as well. So I don't know. Like, I don't think that Daniel Jones is somebody that I want to buy into, or you know what I mean, or like invest in, I should say, right? Like, I don't really want to invest assets into Daniel Jones because we know how quickly it can kind of go south. So I think this is kind of some of what we've seen from him before. It just seems like maybe he's in a better structured offense than he's ever really been in.
Okay. Last one here. Are we worried about Derrick Henry's fumbling and sort of getting benched? I can't. I mean, allow myself.
Did you see it though? Did you see the game? Like, did you see what he looked like on the sideline?
I saw that. Yeah. I mean, he's feeling bad about himself, right? Like he's a competitor.
Yeah, but it was like, you don't see a lot of guys look like that. You know what I mean? Where it was like, he's like, what is happening to me? It was almost like he couldn't even like figure it out. And that's concerning a little bit. Not that, like, I'm not saying sell Derrick Henry or anything. It's just, you see the Ramondre Stevenson stuff we're talking about. And it just, because I'm so close to that, it reminds me of like all of a sudden this guy who really early in his career wasn't fumbling in terms of Ramondre, and all of a sudden it starts, and then it's like the yips, you know what I mean? Like, it just kind of happens. And so obviously they're not going to bench Derrick Henry going forward, but yeah, I don't know. It's just, as old, he's old running back. Like, we know things eventually are going to break down. I didn't really think it was going to be in this way. I guess we shouldn't be concerned though, right? Like, we really shouldn't be concerned.
That's just who it is. I can't, right? So
okay. All right.
It hasn't been a big issue before. I mean, I remember in like Zeke's, I don't know, 3rd season or 4th season, he led the league in fumbles. And then he came back to next year, he had 2 all season. It's like, I don't know. And DBs are getting bad. I don't know. I didn't see.
There's definitely a psychological aspect. It was a punch out, I think, from like the side or behind him. And no, like, that defenses are great at that. Right? Yeah. They're great at that, but it's more of a psychological thing at some point too. Like, if we see it happen again, like, then fool me once, fool me again, shame on me. No, but you just got to kind of keep an eye on that, because like, I do think it's a psychological thing. How like disappointed he was. Like, it wasn't even him throwing his helmet and like falling on the bench, which was kind of hilarious in and of itself. But then he was just like, you could see he was walking around just like holding his head, just like, what
is going on here?
Yeah, and then they lost the game, kind of not directly because of it. There was other reasons, but I'm sure he is thinking it was his fault. So all right, we can move on. I guess there's nothing really actionable to talk about there. Probably worrying about nothing.
Fun to talk about. All right, where were we wrong and why? So let's challenge our prior thoughts. So, I mean, to our the first guy you have here is listed as Christian McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. So to our defense, we did sit here and talk about the 300 touch season, the age, and we had mentioned we had specifically talked about Christian McCaffrey and Henry, and I think we were both to the point where like it's really hard to bet against them. But I do believe that both you and I had kind of pinpointed CMC as one that like, okay, this is the time.
For sure.
At least we I believe kind of together agreed that we were more concerned about CMC than we were Henry.
Yes, for absolutely.
Right?
100%. And I remember saying specifically that like, and I still feel this way. So like, I don't know if it's worth discussing it, but like investing a lot into that, like how much risk there is, like, I guess, okay, the price you have to pay to get that player on your team and how much risk is there just didn't feel worth it to me. But he's scoring over 20 points a game. So it's like, does it go back to, I'm trying to think, we were having a conversation a week or two ago. I forgot exactly what it was about, but I'm like, I literally said this a week or two ago, but it's like, if they're elite enough, I probably shouldn't be so worried about the injury stuff. You know what I mean? Like if it's like off the field stuff and it's like serious shit, it's like, okay, maybe that is like when you worry, but like more so with the injury stuff, it's like, that's when you buy into these guys. You know what I mean? So I do think maybe I missed the mark on this a little bit. Like there's always the risk with these older guys, but man, like he certainly, like, I don't see any issues with the feet, with the calf right now,
No.
like, and so obviously it could pop up out of nowhere, I'm sure, with that kind of, injury if it's chronic, but yeah, it just, I don't see anything to be super concerned about, even when the offense kind of like, not states, but doesn't have it decimated. Yeah. It doesn't have any of their players. Yeah. So it's like, it's just kind of crazy to think about. So I feel like I should be more judicious with the super elite players in those situations. Maybe that might be the takeaway here.
I think that's fair. Next one, Colson Leveland over Warren. Yeah, you know what? This is like a totally made thing that like always pops in my mind. But like, Tyler Warren won the John Mackey Award for tight ends. Look, stick with me. Go to Wikipedia, pull up the page of all the past John Mackey Award winners. Okay, now take that list and do R squared over fantasy points per game for an entire career, and then put that against anybody's tight end model and tell me it's not better. Find a bum.
Let me see this list. I mean, there's definitely like Jake Butt is on this list, but I will give you. I'm not even going to get. I know what you said against the fantasy points, so you're probably right.
Yeah.
Super related,
like,
but like the list is like Warren, Bowers, McBride, Pitts, Hawkinson, Andrews, Hunter Henry, Aaron Hernandez, but Heath Miller, Dallas Clark. Like there's some guys on here who Chase Kaufman. Like you wouldn't know,
Sure.
There's some guys on here, but yeah, like this is a pretty stacked list of players for sure.
We should be drafting those guys.
No, yeah, that's fair. That's I mean, listen, that's a fair point. Yeah, and like maybe we overthought this a little bit. Like definitely a guy who we should have known. I mean, we did know that was going to be used a lot more than Colson Leveland early on, and we know tight ends can take some time. Colson Leveland now also didn't talk about this before, but injury. I think he has like a hammy or a quad, one of those two things, and he's going to be out for.
That was a hip pointer, but
it was a hip. No, you're right. It was a hip. You're right.
So.
It was a hip, and so he left the game, didn't come back, so he might miss a week or two. Who knows? So another kind of shot to his season, unfortunately. But yeah,
I think we liked his athleticism over a guy like Warren.
We definitely did. He was efficient too. He just didn't have that much usage in college really, but I guess that was kind of the knock on Warren too, right? It was like he didn't not the usage wasn't there, but he didn't do anything the years prior, and he only did things when he was a little bit older. But also he just looks the part. Like he looks like he can handle the load. We knew he could block. We knew he was versatile, and so yeah, like I mean. We had them back to back. We just had Loveland over him, and I wonder if we should have just taken the guy with the higher floor that also has a pretty high ceiling too. It's not like he doesn't have a ceiling. He for sure has a lower ceiling maybe than Loveland, due to athleticism, but
Yeah.
we also know that the most elite tight ends don't necessarily need to exhibit elite athleticism as really like more of the traditional elite athleticism, right? These guys are a little bit more unique in how they end up, their body style, shape, the way they play, everything. So, yeah, just something to think about, because he is a guy who looks like the body shape of all the other guys who kind of fit the mold of elite tight end, where Loveland is a little bit different than that. And not that he can't succeed, but again, just I think worth questioning ourselves or challenging ourselves on that now and in the future.
Cool. Next one, I think rightly. So Garrett Wilson. So we all know Garrett Wilson. We loved him in college. We loved him coming out, and we just didn't typically really like where he landed. And well, I mean, he had Zach Wilson as quarterback, Aaron Rodgers as quarterback, Justin Fields we're worried about. But I mean, honestly, this year he's putting it together, and he's putting it together with, again, Justin Fields, Tyrod Taylor. Is this contract year? Or close?
No, I think they could pick. I think this would be year 4, and they pick up his option. I'll check right now.
But I mean, I think maybe we're out on the talent just based on situation.
Oh no, he signed an extension. Sorry, he got the big deal, so he's there for a while. Right. 4-year, $130 million.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we were just out on him based on other factors other than just what he brings to the table, and he's a damn good wide receiver. So definitely, I know I probably was lower on him. Although, like I was telling people, yes, go out and acquire him. I just never made that decision myself, I guess. Maybe more of a me thing there.
Yeah, I do feel like Jake might have gotten some shares. I think he was one who was like, yeah, let's go get buy the dip on Wilson. I certainly was very, very concerned about Justin Fields. But I do think, there's two things. Like, Garrett Wilson is highly talented, number one. Number two, there's really literally nobody else there. Like, it's pretty barren of a wide receiver room. And not that, like, somebody has to catch the ball, but he's also great, and somebody does have to catch the ball, right? Like, those are two things that have to happen. And Justin Fields does have a chemistry already built in with this guy. Like, we definitely should have, like, included that in as a little bit of a bump to his value if you were somebody who is, like, not a fan of the situation. But there's really not much about the player you can really dislike. He's just a really solid receiver. So yeah, I think we just kind of overestimated how much the quarterback situation would impact him and didn't give him kind of his due. So that's he also is definitely overperforming, I think, for the situation, but that's part of him being a great player. So yeah, I think just a little bit too worried about the quarterback and not giving the player his due in terms of just like his value. Probably.
And that offensive line is actually pretty good and young, just to give them props there, which is always good for our fantasy assets.
Yeah, definitely.
Next one, wide receiver 1 of the 2023 class. As I stated back in April of 2023, wide receiver 1, Quentin Johnston. No.
Who is in that class? There's absolutely no way.
Well, it was Jordan Addison.
Okay.
And
maybe. Okay.
And JSN.
No, please. Okay.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah.
There's your wide receiver 1 right there. Yeah.
But most people had Jordan Addison as wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, all I gotta say is QJ. I don't think drops are like sticky. Like, it's one of those things.
Yeah,
I guess they
fair.
can be.
That's fair though.
But I mean, did you see him just straight up go up and get that one this last week? Like,
yeah, and to your point, they typically are not sticky. To your point,
they are not sticky typically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I didn't go wrong there. The only thing I went wrong is I did sell a share in Console Wars, but I did buy one back, I guess, in one of the DU leagues. So
yeah,
I just a little victory lap here. I mean, I waited because week 1 anything could happen, but it's been 3 weeks of solid production. I think he's leading the team in target share.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a chart today. He's got an ADOT of over 14 yards, over 7 yards after the catch. That's insane. You don't
That's
usually see
big
that with an
time.
8-14 to have that many yards after the catch still. And it's only 3 weeks, but he's thriving right now. He's absolutely thriving. So
Yeah, and
happy for him.
we knew the big plays were there, but I don't think. I mean, I'm sorry. We knew that the after the catchability was there, but I don't think we knew that he could kind of put the two together. But I will say, you know, I think, and I think the pod in general has been saying this. I remember saying this quite a few times from last year and into this year that you can see some level of improvement in his route running from when he began to now, and you also clearly can see that there's something changed about um his catching form, right? Like his technique. There's clearly something that he's changed. It's not perfect. We still see some of the carryover of those mistakes where the clapping hands are not having him in the right place necessarily or whatever. But we're seeing a lot more of the right thing too over time. And so you don't always see that, but I do think he's shown consistent development over time. It hasn't been big jumps, but it's been consistent. And so I've bought shares in the past, sold shares, and I've definitely at the end of last year, because they're at value, I took on a couple shares and definitely reaping the rewards for sure. I mean, he's somebody who I would definitely consider shopping, to be honest, because I'm not 100% sure it's going to be long-term consistent. To your point, he's seen 10 targets, and he's done something with all of them. You know what I mean? He's done something with not every target, but I mean, he's done something every game. And so it's not on low volume and, high production. So it could be consistent. I love the offense. We talked about Herbert.
Yeah.
Love Herbert. So there's nothing to dislike about the situation whatsoever. But yeah, he's just one guy who I would shop and see what it's looking like. Can you get a couple first for this guy all of a sudden now? You know what I mean? Is there some deal out there like that may be worth moving him? But I do think Uriah has been consistent on this guy. Jake and I think were kind of off of him, I think for the right reasons, but I do think we slowly were kind of catching on over time. Jake maybe a little bit less than me, but slowly catching on over time that he is improving, maybe not at the level we would like him to be, but he's definitely improving. So, yeah.
Excellent. Last one here. The touchdown regression candidate of the offseason, James Cook. All he does is score touchdowns, man. But also he looks really, really good. He looks fantastic. Able to break off big runs. He's shifty, avoiding tackles. He's been doing it all. So shout out James Cook.
It's not even that. He's doing what we thought he couldn't do, which is we knew that he could score some touchdowns because this offense is great. Josh Allen's going to put you in good position, right? Like you're going to get some touchdowns if you're the running back on this team. But he's had 13 or more carries in every single game. In 2 of them, he's had 19 or more carries. Like that's not something that we thought James Cook could handle. And maybe he can't over the long haul. We'll see. But he's just a guy who's been underestimated, undervalued since rookie drafts. Like he was always undervalued.
He was drafted, correct.
I mean, it was like late second round, maybe third round pick potentially, but definitely in the second round, not even sniffing first round. And he's a guy who was pretty decent, coming out of Georgia, has the pedigree from his brother and everything. I remember having all these conversations and saying that the NFL was going to like him a lot more than fantasy managers would. But it just feels like at some point we got to catch on. And this is not necessarily a shot at the pod. I just think it was a community thing. Everybody.
It was.
Nobody believed in James Cook. And I think we got to kind of give him his fair due at this point. He's clearly able to handle some kind of volume that we didn't think he was going to be able to handle. And he's pretty fucking efficient with it too. Like what does he have? Like he has over 5 yards a carry in most of these games. Like not the first game, but most of them. So he's... And not that yards per carry is the only thing we can look at, but I could pull up the advanced metrics here, and I'm sure they would look very good for him as well.
At over 5 yards a carry at the volume that he's getting is special. It's not 8 carries for over 5. It's he's getting in the teens.
And as much as we like Ray Davis as like a handcuff, we know that he's not like a threat to the role that is James Cook because he can't do the same things. And there's nobody on this offense that can really do the things that James Cook can. There's nobody, you know what I mean? And they don't have any wide receivers. So we should have definitely seen this year that he was going to especially after he got the contract, but that he was going to have to be extremely involved for them to be any kind of productive as an offense, as great as Josh Allen is. So, yeah, definitely need to rethink, just how we look at James Cook. I think a little bit the player in general. Not really actionable to go buy or sell or anything like that necessarily. I mean, he could be a good sell, to be honest, because he's doing so well, and like he is a smaller back, so maybe he can't handle the workload. If you think that, certainly would go ahead out there and shop and see what you can, what the return could be on James Cook, because now he has a ton of value, and if you can get off of him again for first plus something nice, a couple of first, whatever it is, like, yeah, I think you got to do that for these kind of running backs. Unless you're contending and he's a big part of your team, then, do your thing. But before we get out of this segment here, Tony, just kind of going back to CMC, sorry, in the YouTube comments here, Tony, the Achilles and calf injury is scary for CMC. Yeah, I mean, that was the whole thing. That was totally the whole thing. So I think it was fair for sure, like, fading him, but like all but like one redraft league, I think, like, I've pretty much faded him. And so I don't have him in any dynasty leagues, and he might have been a decent value. Like, you probably weren't going to have to spend a ton on him, but it felt like you were still going to have to spend premium value on a guy who could be what he was last year or worse, like just, pop his Achilles. So, but again, with these elite assets, it's like that could be the difference between you being the championship team and not. And so, advising people not to do that, like, just, completely. That's why I wanted to have that conversation again and just at least challenge ourselves on it, for sure. Another one from Tony here. He learned to separate as well, talking about QJ. I agree. Like, that's part of the route running stuff, right? Like, he's definitely from year one to whatever year we're in now with him. Like, you could see over time the route running just getting better and him being able to separate a little bit better. And he also just seems like he kind of has a decent IQ for the game, understands like where to be, how to find those zones and whatnot. So, I definitely think that's true. Definitely learn to separate. We have Timothy here in the comments. Was it bad process to let Dart fall to the second round of rookie drafts? Yes. I think we've talked about this so many times. These guys, you need to kind of take them at the late first if they're there still, for sure. Yeah. And it's funny, I was in a draft where I have like 4 quarterbacks, like, or something like that. Is like a ton of quarterbacks, and my team's really good. I could probably use another skill position player on this team. But I remember talking to Jake about it at the time. I was like, I think it was like 202, 203 or something like that. He fell to, and I was like, do I just go for a skill player? Do I go for Dart? And he's like, dude, you just got to take Dart. Like, the value on these quarterbacks, like, we know holds over for so much longer once they get the chance. We've seen it with Anthony Richardson. We've seen it with so many guys. And so the windows to get out on him eventually, and the price you're going to be able to get out on him, and we're going to see it right now. You could do it already just because you got the starting job. You don't even need to wait for him to play. But there's going to be windows to get out of him on, and these other players. Say you selected Jack Betch in the second over him or something, some shit like that. Like, that wouldn't be exactly what you do at the beginning of the second, but there's players for sure that would have.
I'm sure that's happened.
Already kind of busted on you. You know what I mean? That sounded terrible, but there are players who would be doing a lot worse in terms of value than Jackson Dart. So, yes, the short answer is yes, but the long answer is what I just said.
Yeah, just something that we always go back to is, I mean, I say it all the time. I'm sure Billy agrees with the most part. Like, if the quarterback was taken in the NFL draft in the first round, he should probably be taken in the first round in your super flex drafts for the most part.
Probably, yeah.
Otherwise, you miss out on guys like Justin Herbert, but then sometimes you end up with Mac Jones, and.
But there was a lot of windows to get out on Mac Jones, though, for decent value for a couple seconds, for maybe even a first. Like, his rookie season was solid, and you probably thought that he was going to be a legitimate quarterback in this league. You could have got out on him. You know what I mean? And so, like, these guys, they hold so much value in Superflex league. So yes, you can't let the guys who are, and I agree with Uriah for the most part. I think that's a pretty good rule. If they were drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, probably shouldn't slip out of the first round of your rookie drafts. Basically. All right, cool. And to Timothy's point, still getting starts out of Mac Jones, and you could probably still get
true. Mac Jones is still out there.
These quarterbacks, man, still get some value out of Mac Jones now, for sure. I love that. Good shout. It's funny.
Cool. What do you got here?
Okay, so We got a bunch of trades to talk about. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, a lot of activity going on in our leagues, just a lot of trades, just a lot of movement, a lot of talking. You can see that people are really engaging with things at this point. And I think this happens every year around this time, and you can definitely take advantage of it. But I'm just kind of trying to term things in like in a psychological way, because I think it helps. A lot of this game is psychological, so I think it helps frame things properly in terms of like what we go through. So I call this like anticipatory dynasty anxiety, right? And it's like you're constantly worrying about something early on instead of just like applying patience and letting things play out a little bit, right? And you often see this happen, I think, early on, like when people move on from rookies too quickly. I mean, it can happen with anybody, right? Like you could just be worried about like how a vet's playing or something in a new situation, whatever it is. Like there's definitely, it's not just rookies. So, but it's, I'm thinking of guys like Luther Burden maybe prior to week 3, where we see all of a sudden he went off. Hampton also prior to week 3. Hendo now and prior to week 3, but still, Trevion Henderson I'm referring to. Or even the other way around, you can think of it, it's not just selling, it's also buying, like people buying into Russell Wilson's week 2, being like, oh shit, he popped off. I need to, I don't have a good quarterback situation. Let me go spend a second or a couple seconds on Russell Wilson to get him on my team. And now he's benched. You know what I mean? It's kind of worrying about a situation way too quickly and making a move on it is kind of what I'm thinking about here. So, I just noticed a lot of trades kind of go down between week 2 and 3. And so I'm thinking, some panic selling, panic buying. And I did see a lot of rookies involved. So I think there's definitely something going on there, which makes sense, right? Like some people are like worrying about the rookies, or somebody, one of these trades we're going to talk about is like somebody buying into Fannin. Clearly you'll see the value on it. And it's like, you see all of a sudden week 3, his usage and his effectiveness comes down a little bit, right? He's still definitely like, I think he's showing a lot of flashes, good player, not saying that, but people are like the next tight end 1 in Dynasty, you know what I mean? Like with week 2 and seeing kind of how he's coming out. And so just kind of some of those things. And so just wanted to put a name to it. It always helps me frame things and helps me think about them in the future. So, anticipatory dynasty anxiety, just that feeling of like, I got to move super fast because I'm really worried about a dynasty situation, you know what I mean? Or a player situation. So I think that does lead really well into, unless you have something to say about that, feel free to hop in, of course, Uriah. But I think that leads into our trades here. You're going to see kind of a lot of this happening.
Just say, there's value obviously in being ahead of market. So there is that, like, you don't want to be, and nobody wants to be left holding the bag. And then also like at the same time, like people want to be like, feel like they're spotting a trend that maybe the trade partner's not spotting, and they're trying to get ahead of it, right? So it's kind of human nature there. But
yeah, and what I do want to say is I think that some of these are going to be examples of me trying to take advantage of it. Not all of these are my trades, but I'm just saying like some of these are going to be me trying to take advantage of that anticipatory anxiety. Some of it also might be me falling into the anticipatory anxiety while trying to do what I'm trying to do. So obviously at the end of any trade, somebody could be the victim of this or the victor of this, right? Like you could be one or the other. So like, and I'm not saying I'm always on the right side of it. So I want to make that clear, but I just want to be clear about kind of how the framing is going here so everybody understands. But anyway, let's hop into the trades.
Cool. We got a trade went down today. It's my trade. D5. I went ahead and I woke up this morning. I had an offer to receive Devontae Adams. Currently, I'm 3-0 in this league in first place, which is not at all fake, but no. But it's looking pretty good so far. And then, so I got offer for Devontae Adams to add to my team, and it was an offer for 226 seconds. I looked at it, and right or wrong, I was like, I have Puka on this team. I'm just gonna decline it. I'm fine. But I was like, you know what? It's probably worth 2 seconds. Lo and behold, later on in the afternoon, the same guy sent me offer of his Devontae Adams for a 26 second and a 28 third. And I'm thinking at that point, I have to take this. Like, I have to take this. I don't even care if I'm going to start Puka and Adams on the same team. They throw to like 2 guys on the team, Puka and Adams. So I'm just like, that's fine with me. I had to do it.
Yeah. Like I don't hate that trade for Adams at all. Actually, I got the same offer you did from him. And I can't believe my team is 1-2 in that league. I'm so shocked how my team's doing in that league. But I got the same offer and I was like, I don't think my team is really strong enough, or like I'm not convinced my team is strong enough to send 2 seconds for Devontae Adams. So I did the same thing you did. I just declined it and I didn't really engage with it. I do have 3 seconds on that team, and I probably could have done it, but I don't think he's worth 2 seconds, truthfully. I think your deal is pretty much right on the money. But the fact that you're 3-0 top contender, like, and I don't really mind starting both those guys or having both those guys. I think there's also contingent upside with having them. If one gets injured, the other one is like awesome. And so, you know what I mean? Either way, I think you're good. But yeah, like I think it's a fine deal for you. I couldn't do it myself. But what I think is funny is that he sent you that deal, but never sent me that deal. Like we both declined him. We both declined him, but he didn't send me the second deal, motherfucker. Like, what are you doing? Come on, bro. Come back. Maybe I would have.
What would you have done?
I probably would have still declined it, or maybe I might have. I probably would have countered back with something like, been like, oh, okay, no, you know me. I'm always trying to get a value, and also if I'm not. Like if I was 3-0 and I was like, oh, this team is strong, I would have been like, yeah, smash it. Like at a second and a third, I'd be like, yeah, just
that second's going to be like 210.
Yeah, and honestly, I truthfully think Adams is more worth a straight second. But I do like if I think about it, I'm like, okay, Mike Evans is worth a straight second, then Adams is definitely worth a little bit more than that. Yeah. So
it's a 28 third. I'm like,
it doesn't matter. Yeah, no, I probably would have been fine with that too. Yeah,
yeah.
No, I would have been good with that. Yeah.
Cool. Another one. This is actually between me and you, and I love how the League of Legends is LOL, but that's stupid. I know. But my bad.
You're good.
Anyway, you reached out to me, and obviously you wanted Travion Henderson. I get that league. I don't know what went wrong when I drafted that team, but I basically immediately rebuild, and I'm still not anywhere close. Obviously, Travion Henderson, I do think is probably going to have a better season this year than the other guys on the other side of the trade, but I digress. I sent you over Trayvon Henderson, and you sent me Caleb Johnson, Kyle Monangai, and a 26 second. I looked at that with Caleb Johnson and a second, and I'm like, I need that second. And then I still have faith in you sent Jacquees Hunter instead of Kyle Monangai. I wasn't interested in Hunter, so I just countered and said, hey, let me get Monangai. It's another guy that like same thing in a sense. But I feel like Kyle Monangai has a shot to do something more than Hunter does, and I do still have faith in Caleb at some point.
Yeah, so a couple of things. I mean, this is getting back to the dynasty or the anticipatory dynasty anxiety. Like, definitely, I was attacking Travion Henderson managers in general. It wasn't just you, obviously. And I have another Travion Henderson trade here that may not be look as good, but I was trying to attack that, and like also understanding that you do believe in Caleb, but this one, like I do think like could not work out for me as well. I mean, I still have faith in Travion, but he doesn't look amazing right now. Definitely is. I think the game is a little fast for him, especially in between the tackles and whatnot. So he definitely has some work to do. But I felt like Caleb's situation looks bad enough, feels bad enough, where I'm like, if I add a second to this and a backup running back, like I do think the value is there for you because you are rebuilding. This makes it so that you're not getting points. And if you do believe in Caleb, like again, we could be wrong, like, and eventually he could get out from under Arthur Smith, and so maybe probably sooner rather than later. Plus Kyle Monangai, I do understand wanting him. Like the way I thought about it was you could sell him for something sooner than you could Hunter. You know what I mean? And if you're trying to rebuild, like that's what you're trying to do, is really get out of these assets more so than hold them, except for Caleb because of the situation. So the second round pick obviously I think makes sense for you. But I do feel like obviously this is a little bit of a buy low on Henderson. It's just like the situation doesn't look perfect for him either. So it's like I get why you would get into this situation. But okay, so that's that one. We can move on to the next one.
Cool. Next one is Mario Hampton in the third for Travion.
Yes, and so this was obviously before week 3. Otherwise, I would definitely not have had to include a third because he went off. But like my thought was this: I actually tried to make a trade for this exact trade back right during the rookie draft. You know what I mean? Basically, I was like, here, let me get Henderson. I'll give you Marion Hampton plus. It might have been a fucking second back then. I may have, so this is like cheaper than what I probably would have done initially. But I was just thinking basically this is kind of a swap with like, yes, it's a third, but like I could probably get that back, which I subsequently did. We've talked about cascading trades, and when you see a lot of activity going on, things can kind of snowball. And so literally right after I got that trade done, I got a third back for Jake Browning. So I ended up basically, obviously it's not a free third necessarily or anything like that, but I basically just swapped the two players at that point is kind of how I felt about it. And I just have to stand on business and just, I believe in Trevion Henderson. I think over time it'll get right. I think this fumble fiasco with Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson, both of them fumbled in this game, gives Henderson even more runway to get going a little bit earlier. I'm going to try not to fall into the dynasty, the anticipatory anxiety and be like, oh God, I got to go, I'm worried about Henderson. Like I got to kind of just stand on business and feel like same thing with Amari and Hampton. Eventually something happened where things turned for him. It wasn't necessarily he got better or anything, just the situation changed all of a sudden. I think that is potentially Henderson as well. And the more usage he gets, hopefully the more quickly the development happens as well. So yeah, we'll see, but that one doesn't look great for me, and I don't love that I didn't give. And so again, going back to the anticipatory anxiety, though, I probably didn't give Hampton his due run early on to see or realize his true value, right? Like, or his potential value, because if I gave it one more week, I could have gotten Henderson plus for my Hampton instead of giving Hampton. You're muted.
Would you have done that?
Would I have sold?
If you had Hampton right now, would you do that?
100%.
Yeah,
because I still think what I think. Like that's my point is like I still think what I think about Henderson despite what transpired this week. But I could have just gotten a better deal if I just had been a little bit more patient. So I guess my point is like if you're trying to attack the anticipatory anxiety thing, you should probably do it more like the previous deal and less like this deal where you're giving up an asset that's just more valued. Like Caleb Johnson is just purely less valued than Hampton, no matter what. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the deal that you should be sending and be okay with not getting the deal done for Henderson and waiting that extra time with the Hampton share, because then you could still get Henderson the next week if you want to do that deal. So like it's a nuanced thing, and obviously timing is everything. And like, you can't predict, and hindsight is 2020, but it's also trying to mitigate the potential disaster by just being patient. You know what I mean? And so, yeah.
All right. Next one, Dynasty Underdog Listener League Numero Uno. T. Higgins, pause, for 2 26 seconds and a 27 second. It's a great trade.
Sorry, real quick here. Gordo, May fumble too. Are you just trying to rub it in? Like, I know that.
I purposely didn't bring that up.
I'm fully fucking aware, Gordo. Thank you so much for notifying me of that. Yes. What I will say though is, I mean, I don't know why I'm getting into my Patriot shit here. May looks a lot better than anybody on the team. He looks really dialed in. He's still trying to do too much in those moments. He literally was like doing the Lamar Jackson thing, falling down, trying to like throw it out of his hands like a dumbass. Like that shit just needs to stop. And then you don't have it. The interception he throws in the red zone, his fucking head got slammed into the floor, and he's holding his head as he gets up, and he's like, like, dude, you're clearly
he didn't
concussed.
get checked out for a concussion, I thought.
And that ball got tipped. Yeah, that was I was surprised about that. And the ball got tipped on that one too. So like I look, Drake May needs to stop that shit. Like it drive me crazy. But the other fumbles are just out of control. Like the other fumbles are just too consistent. And Ramondre, this is again 8 or 9 fumbles in 18 games or something.
Right. No, we've covered that.
God damn it, Gordo. Look what he did to me. Look what he did to me. Like I can't help myself when somebody just lights me on fire with this shit. It's insane. Okay, sorry. This Higgins trade. Go ahead.
2 26 seconds and a 27 second. I just looked at trade. I assume you're having a contender on one side and a rebuilder on the other side, and it's just
no. It's 2 rebuilders.
Oh, well, I ain't doing that.
Okay, well, I'll explain.
Okay.
So the two 26 seconds are almost certainly late. I think one of them is somebody who was in the finals last year, and the other one is somebody who's just pretty competitive most years. It'll probably be more mid for that one, maybe late. But so 2 later seconds and then a 27-second for Higgins. So I have 5 or 6 firsts, and I had like 4 seconds, and I'm like, my team does need players like at some point, and like good players and players that are going to ascend in value. And so what I felt like was Higgins right now is a little bit lower value because obviously quarterback situation sucks. He's not doing well. He's also not going to add points to my team, like any, points for. So for the max points for purposes, right? So my team is still going to, this is kind of the conversation I was having earlier about the I forgot what wide receiver we were talking about, but that you could acquire and it's not going to hurt your tanking, experience, while it's also going to add a player who's definitely going to be better in the future. You know what I mean? So that was the idea, is like, yes, I'm getting rid of some of the picks that I would be using for my rebuild, but were those seconds going to be T Higgins at all? Like, probably not. You know what I mean? Most of those are it's almost guaranteed one of those is a miss, probably 2 of them.
Yeah. Okay. Makes a little more sense.
Jake here. It's 2 a.m. in Portugal. You guys rock. Shout out, Jake. Appreciate you joining, tuning in. Gordo exercising, although I guess they could stand to lose some weight. What do you say? Wait, I'm also a Pats fan, just exercising my demons, exercising. Although I guess I could stand to lose some weight. Yes, absolutely. I understand for sure, Gordo. I feel you, bro. It's insane. The pain of that game. We should have won that. It's crazy. Laposaurus here in the YouTube comments. General question: when trading picks, what's the earliest in season that we can start making assumptions about where they will fall during the draft? I mean, it depends. Like if there's some teams for sure are just going to be absolutely terrible. They're already at the bottom of the standings and they're devoid of any good players. It's like, that they're going to be there. But with those teams that are more to the middle, I mean, you just got to really look at those teams. I think you can usually look at a team and be like, they're definitely not making the playoffs, number one. Now, where they fall in the rest of the order at the backside of that is questionable, but I don't know. For me,
I think you should have a pretty good idea by week 4. Not just based on standings, but by points for. Points against.
That's the way to look at it for sure. So look at that. And then I agree. I think between week 4 and 6 is like in that range is where you're going to have to determine it. It's still a little early here, but again, with those bottom teams, like you're going to be able to tell. Like, and again, but the thing for me, and I should say this, is like I'm very rarely concerned unless I'm going after a specific like pick or 2 that is going to be 101 or 102. You know what I mean? Like you can identify usually that team, but like if I'm like worried about, I'm never worried about getting 102 versus 103. I don't give a shit. Like if I'm going after one of the, like I want a really high pick, you know what I mean? And I'm fine with getting any of those picks if it's available. Like you can't always pick and choose what you can get necessarily. And if something's available, you kind of need to go after that. Obviously, if it's the 101, you're going to change your price on it. I get that. But I think you can kind of determine those things within a range of 1 to 3 picks or so. And you should be okay with whatever that it falls in that range. That's kind of how I feel about it.
That's a good answer.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Do you want Kyle Pitts and Rashee Rice contenders? Now's your time. Go buy Rashee Rice, by the way. Yes. Rashee Rice for Flowers.
I thought this was a crazy trade, dude. Like, and this happened week 2, and obviously Flowers had 2 really good games, but we knew that Flowers. We know this about Flowers and almost any receiver on Baltimore. They are not going to be consistent over the long haul. It's just not going to happen. They're going to have dips, and I just like Rice is just such a high valued asset in my mind, even though if his actual value isn't really there yet because of the suspension or whatever. I just like I hold him in very high regard in terms of dynasty value. So I obviously wouldn't take him. I probably would, but like I have him over Flowers. I feel like pretty substantially in my mind. And then you add Pitts to it. I'm just like, God damn. And then this week it doesn't look good. Like, I mean, Pitts is not an asset that I think we should overvalue necessarily, but I think it's just like 2 pretty highly valued assets for one that is going to likely be inconsistent. I was very surprised to see the trade go down. And when Rice comes back, I think the trade is going to look pretty questionable for the Flower side.
Yeah, you nailed it. Damn. Who was this between? I'll have to go look.
This was I could be wrong. It was between Mr. Martinez, who is one of our long time listeners,
Shout
and
out.
does really good work, I think.
Bringing the Dynasty content to Mexico.
Mexico, thank you. I didn't want
Yes,
to get that wrong.
sir.
Yes, really good dude. So shout out.
Smart.
Yeah, shout out to him. But I think maybe him and Dan. I could be wrong though. I'm not exactly sure who the trade was between.
Oh, that might make sense. Dan might
And
win
he got
Flowers.
no. I'm pretty
He's a
sure that
Baltimore
Flowers
fan.
went to Mr. Martinez, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
I'll have to look.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
that's something I wouldn't have done at that point in
I
time,
think Julio.
personally.
Yeah, not a yeah, and I just like it was buying Flowers super high, and it's just not something I would ever do for that kind of asset. So you really got to consider that, and like not again week 2, and this goes back I think to kind of the opposite way of for the anticipatory dynasty anxiety. It's like almost worrying you're not going to get in on Flowers. You know what I mean? And it's like buying. It's like, no, dude, just wait a little bit. Like, be patient. This guy's going to dip back down. I promise you. There's going to be a window for to get in for less than that. So, just one of those early season things. I think that he got caught up in potentially. So,
All right, cool.
not that Flowers won't be good. Just
No,
I think
he's
the
a good
other
player.
side will be better.
Anytime he has the ball in his hands, he's pretty electric. So it's just Baltimore. Who knows? The last one here. So Sam Darnold, who's actually doing pretty good without KOC there. So shout out to Sam resurrecting his career. By the way,
Yes,
Sam
definitely.
Darnold, Achan for Anthony Richardson, 27 first, and Harold Fannin Jr. So yeah, this is pretty easily the quarterback and Achan there for me. Why you're trying to go out and get Anthony Richardson is beyond me. Right now, it's just you're just hoping. I mean, like that's like you really got to stretch it. So 27 first and Fannin, like you have to be really high on Fannin after his week 1 to kind of do this trade. Makes absolutely no sense to me why you would send Darnold and Achan for A-Rich at 27 first and Fannin. This is your trade, right?
Yeah. Again, I think this
Yeah.
is a little, getting over the skis a little bit on the early season stuff we see out of rookies and whatnot. And like again on Fannin, like definitely Fannin is carrying a lot of weight in this trade, right? Like he's he's doing a lot of heavy lifting here. And so what I will say is I think the idea of the person trading for the package with the first is that they think it could potentially be a high pick. Now they traded for my 27 first, and I do have some fragility at the QB position, but I think Gibbs now A-Chain, and I was really thin at running back, and then I have like Brian Thomas, Amon-Ra, like a bunch of like really highly valued skill position players in terms of mostly wide receivers, to be honest, and so and some running backs, obviously some very high valued running backs. So I feel like I could potentially beat that bet that he's making that my team is going to be a bottom feeder, because it has been in League 1 or 2 of this year or this league. So I definitely see the idea here, like of what he's doing, and his team is completely tanking. So he's taking on A-Rich, getting no points there, seeing maybe if he can sell him in the future. If there's a Daniel Jones injury, he's just kind of betting on something happening there. And then with Fannin, just believes in Fannin. You know what I mean? Okay,
Sure.
I get it. But for me, I just felt like, again, I was kind of thin at the QB position. I think it was like Russ Penix. Sorry. Damn, I'm bad at that. Russ Penix. And it's like I'm doing it on purpose at this point. And I think I was pretty thin after that. I think I have the New Orleans QB room, which is not great. Spencer Rattler and also the guy they drafted, Tyler Shook. Yeah. And I obviously had A-Rich as well. So I felt like it was a good deal for me to just get into Darnold, who he doesn't necessarily have like the most security, though he has some. But I felt like A-Chain pretty much covered all the value on the other side, though. You know what I mean? At that rate, like I felt like I was getting almost a free Darnold in this trade. So even in a vacuum, even if my first is a little bit earlier than I want it to be, I just think it's a good trade, and I can get more value out of these assets than those assets at the end of the day, like if I needed to. So that was kind of my idea there. I thought it was funny. Again, this league is not again, but this league is a league with a bunch of like analysts, dynasty analysts. I would say kind of like B-rate dynasty analysts. I'm in there myself, so I'm calling myself that. But just some really good players in there for sure. But this was Dynasty IM. Ian, we actually used to be at DFF together back in the day. He does really great work. He has his own kind of site and stuff now. But I thought it was funny. He posted this trade on Twitter and got absolutely cooked in the comments. I was like, and he didn't tell me he was going to post it on Twitter. Not that I give a shit, honestly. He didn't hide my name. Not that I give a shit. Also, like, go ahead and throw it out there. I don't care. But I just thought it was hilarious. And I'd go into the comments. I'm like, damn, because I don't think it's as like I think I won the trade. I wouldn't have made the deal if I didn't think that I was getting more value on my side than the other. But
not like that.
People think a lot worse than I think about his side of the trade. So I was pretty surprised about the thoughts on that. So
that's pretty good.
But again, it's that early season stuff though. It goes. I do want to point out that like a lot of this goes back to the same thing. It's like worrying or overvaluing something early on and worrying that you're not going to get into it at another point at a decent cost. You're kind of overpaying or undervaluing and not getting the value you should be getting for the asset. And that's why we're seeing like this week. I mean, I certainly made the most trades I've made in like a month or so, or maybe more than that, or a couple months, but also I just saw a lot of other deals go down too. So it's just definitely action time and people are feeling certain ways and people are worried about shit and moving shit. So it's definitely a time to pay attention and kind of get in there and see what you could potentially take advantage of.
Good. Whew. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, that was a fun episode. I appreciate you listening to me rant on for, hour 15 here or so, but appreciate everybody joining in the YouTube comments. That was really great stuff. Always appreciate everybody in the Discord. Check the link in the show description. Again, if you want to get in there with us, we love talking to you guys. But yeah, other than that, catch us on the socials at Dynasty Underdog.
Later.
Peace out, people.